Hello everyone, welcome back. I am sitting in traffic here, not moving. So I thought that this would be a good opportunity to talk to you guys about Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, so Tulsi Gabbard is supposedly like a moderate, or was a moderate Democrat senator from Hawaii. Okay, and the first time I heard of her was during a gun control sit-in at the Congress. I think this was sometime between 2015 and 2016. Don't remember the exact dates, but that was the first time I saw her. And the thing that caught my ear back then is that people were putting her forth as a moderate, right? But at the same time, she was in this sit-in for gun control. So I'm like, no, forget about this woman. She's no moderate. She's like nobody I want to have anything to do with. So that kind of like, I kind of like totally scratched off right there. Okay. So since then, she has dropped out of the Democrat Party and she's become an independent. Okay. And she's, over the last couple of months, she's been talking in favor of gun rights. And I'm like, I'm not sure I really believe her. But now I'm hearing that she's participating in 3-gun matches, shooting AR-15s, okay? So like right now, it's like, wait a second, now she's got my attention, okay? Not that I would want to see her in a solid red state, but I would like to see her like in a purplish state or in a blue state, right? Run there where it's more likely that a Democrat will win. But if you run in a state like that where Republicans really have a hard chance of winning, but if you run somebody like her, who's a moderate, she probably has a really good chance of winning. So like my state of Pennsylvania would be like a perfect example of her, right? Because we had some really good we have this great conservative Doug Mastriano that was, for example, running for governor, but couldn't win because there's just so many leftists in my state, particularly in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, that it's impossible for a true constitutionalist to win. So when we do get Republicans that win, they tend to be rhinos, right? Like we had like Pat Toomey, terrible guy for gun rights. Okay, so those are the type of Republicans that we normally end up getting in a state like Pennsylvania, and like that would be kind of like an ideal candidate for a state like Pennsylvania that's kind of purplish, where I'd rather have her, win a senatorship, become a senator or a governor or something like that, rather than some like hardcore leftist Democrat. Okay, so now the question here is, how pro-gun rights is she? Because here's the thing: there's lots of rhino Republicans out there that say they're gun rights, but like every chance they get, they'll negotiate our rights away. Okay, so you can't go by what they say; you have to go by what they do. And there's 3 criteria, right? 3 criteria that I look at to determine if it's somebody I would want to vote for. So the first criteria is that they actively participate in the gun community, right? Meaning that they own guns, right? And I don't mean FUD guns. I mean they own AR-15s, and they actively participate. They shoot them. And her doing 3-gun is that, right? I mean, that's probably the like I don't even do 3-gun. Like mostly for me, it's a time issue. I don't have the time to drive around, especially on the weekends when these type of things are normally happening. That's when I'm usually training people. So I don't do 3-gun competitions just because it conflicts with my work schedule, which is usually on the weekends. Seeing her doing like 3-gun competitions with AR-15s, that's a really strong indication that she's really like come over to the gun rights side. Okay, now initially she may have decided to do this just to make a show of it, right? Just to just for appearances, right? But here's the thing: if you start doing like 3-gun competitions regularly, number one, somebody's got to train you, right? And somebody's got to continue to train you, and also you start interacting with other people in that community. Even if you went in for the purposes of just making a show and just putting up appearances, if you're there long enough, you're gonna really start to believe in the Second Amendment, okay? And I'll even use myself as an example. I mean, when I grew up in New York City, I really didn't get. I mean, the first time I was really trained on guns was when I was like in my I guess I might have been like around 33 years old. I'm now 51. So I didn't grow up with guns, right? So I grew up in New York City, and I went down to visit a friend in Texas. And I was having it's kind of funny. I went down there. There was this guy in California that we had gotten into a theoretical sword fighting argument, right? So this guy's in California. I'm in New York. And basically what it boiled down to is I was saying that my techniques are better. He was saying that his techniques are better. So there's a guy in Texas that basically offered to host a duel between us, right? And you can actually see the duel. If you look up my channel name, look up the duel, you'll see me fighting this dude with swords. So this was a duel that I went down to Texas for. And while I was down there, this guy owned a whole bunch of property. And while we were down there, we did the sword fighting. We did like 3 days of sword fighting. But I also got some gun training for this guy, like real gun training. I had shot guns before, but I hadn't really gotten gun training. So I got some gun training, got shot AR-15s for the first time, shot full auto Uzis, because this guy had like a class 3, shot full auto Uzis, shot I think a full auto Thompson. And I was like completely converted over to gun rights. I actually started off getting trained on a 1911. I was carrying a 1911 around for like I think I was there for almost a week. I also shot Glocks. But here's the thing. I remember an important conversation that I had with this dude. We were talking about gun control. And like, at some point I'm like, yeah, back when they made the Second Amendment, they really didn't have, violent gangs like they had today. And he's like, he looked at me. Remember, I'm a New Yorker now, just getting into guns. He looked at me like, and I could see that the guy was like pretty pissed off at me, right? And he's like, well, they had Indians back then. They had Tories. There was plenty of mass shootings back then. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I really couldn't respond. I just nodded my head. Again, I'm just getting into this. So the point is that, I was down there for a week, and I came out so hardcore gun rights that within a year, I had bought my own property, right? Or actually within 2 years, I had bought my own property and was basically doing what that guy was doing, in Texas. I'm doing it in Pennsylvania, okay? So you can see how, once people are introduced to the love of guns, right? Or introduced to guns and they develop a love for it, you can see how hard they can fall for this, okay? So that's why I'm not going to discount the fact, the possibility that she is solidly over on our side now, given that she's doing 3-gun competitions, given that she's interacting with the gun community on a regular basis. I'm inclined to give her the benefit of the doubt. Now, I said there was 3 criteria, the most important of which is being involved with guns and the gun community on a regular basis. That's number 1, okay? Number 2 is fighting against fighting against gun control. Okay, I haven't seen her do that yet. That's by far that's easy, right? Because there's lots of so-called rhinos out there that kind of fight against gun control because that's kind of easy. They kind of pick something, that's like, they'll usually pick something like really soft, like, oh, this isn't going to take the guns away from the criminals, but that's kind of like, being really soft on it. They're not like, so it's really easy to kind of take a stance against gun control because you can usually pick something out. So that's why I give a lot more credit to being involved in the gun community. Okay, so number 2 is fighting against gun control. I haven't seen a whole lot of that from her yet. I don't think she's any elected position. She's not in office right now. But the third one is that when you do get into office, you actually push, legislation to remove gun control. Right. So I want to basically see people that are actively fighting against gun control by pushing legislation to remove gun control. Okay. So those are my 3 criteria. Number 1, most important, actively involved in the gun community. Number 2, fighting against gun control. And number 3, actively pushing gun rights and pushing legislation to take back gun rights. Okay, so on Tulsi Gabbard, I'm inclined to, basically support her in Democrat states, right? I mean, I don't want to see her in a hardcore red state that we're going to win anyway, but I want to see her in a, I want to see her in a, in a purplish state or Democrat state. I'd like to see her run there and win a position there. And then let's see what she can do there. So those are my thoughts today. I want to share that with you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you all soon.